Hello and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to your lesson. The last time that I've lectured you, we've talked about the other form of literature, which is prose. Now, when we say prose, it's something that's written that doesn't have a formal structure. Compared to what we are going to study right now, our topic for this session is poetry. Of course, we all know that poetry is something that has specific measures, specific way of writing it. But first, what is poetry? Every poem is an expression of human sentiment, sometimes happy, sometimes bitter, sometimes casual, sometimes electric, sometimes erotic. A poem is like fiction and drama. It has story to tell. Now, when we talk about poetry, it has a couple of elements to it. The first is the sound patterns. Paano ba siya tumunog? So the first one is rhyme. Rhyme is the regular occurrence of similar sounds, usually at the end of the lines. For example, give me a word. Best. What rhymes with best? Test. Give me another word. Apple. What rhymes with apple? Pineapple. No. Okay. Example is this one. Let's all read this together. The poem is called Trees. I think I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is rest against the earth's sweet flowing breasts. So as you can see, what are the words that are rhyming here right now is see, and then tree, and then rest, and then breast. Now, the next element is what we call the rhythm. Rhythm is like the beat of the music. For example, in drums, like tug tug pak, something like that. So there are certain rhythms to your poem as well. For example, this particular poem, short poem right here. Let's all read together. Along came the doctor. Along came the nurse. Along came the lady with a big fat purse. So, along came the doctor, along came the nurse, along came the lady with the big fat purse. So it's 5-6-5-6. There's a certain cadence to it. So that's what we call rhythm. Meter is the systemic regularity in rhythm. It's a sound pattern. It's identified by examining the type of foot or the number of feet. Pag sinabi nating foot in literature, what do we mean by these? Okay, so let's talk about poetic foot. Ano nga ba itong foot pagdating sa poetry? A foot is a traditional line of metered poetry containing a number of rhythmical units, which we call foot or feet. And these are the building blocks of your poem. And a foot usually has a loud syllable or a strong syllable, and then an unstressed or not so loud syllable, or what we call a weak syllable. There are types of poetic foot that we are going to talk about today. Okay, the first one is what we call the iambic. You'll know later, paano natin i-arrange ang foot into the poem. So the poem consists of lines, and then the lines of the poem consist of feet, or yung mga foot na yan. But these are the different types of feet or foot. The first one is iambic. When we say iambic, this is a weak syllable followed by a strong syllable. So to give you an idea of what it is, it's like this one. It's the dumb. Okay, again, the dumb. I know, right? It sounds funny, but that's the easiest way of remembering it. The dumb. So examples of two syllables that has or starts with a weak syllable, then followed by a strong syllable. I am. In Tagalog, lipad. O kaya laslas. So those are types of iambic, foot. So pag nilagay mo yung words na yon, that's iambic. It's the dumb. The dumb. It can either be composed of one word or two words or a part of a multi-syllabic word na nandoon. Basta yung foot niya is the dumb. The dumb. So pag gagawa ka ng line, is the dumb, the dumb, the dumb, the dumb. That's iambic. Next is we have the trochee. Trochaic. Ito naman, kabaliktaran naman siya. It's different from iambic in which the first or the strong syllable is the one on the first part, and then it is followed by the weak syllable. So instead of the dumb in iambic, this is dumda or dumda. Yes. So examples of words which are trochaic, or examples of lines which are trochaic. Bucket. Okay, di ba? Bucket. Bucket. And then we also have talon is iambic, di ba? Talon. So tatlo. Yeah. That's also trochaic. So if iambic is the dumb, then trochaic is dumda. Okay? You following? I know, right? Okay. Now we move on with anapestic. Pag sinabi naman na anapestic, this is two weak syllables followed by a strong syllable. So this is, you guessed it, da-da-dum. Da-da-dum. Examples of words. Lumipad. Or lumayo. Those are examples of words that can be part of the foot, part of the foot. So that's anapestic. Okay, it's two weak syllables. Okay. This is wrong. It should be dum-da-da when we talk about dactylic naman. So, dactylic. The stress is on the first syllable. Like, dum-da-da. Dum-da-da. Okay? Any words that comes into your mind when we say dum-da-da? No? You can also do nasaan, the word nasaan na ginamit natin kanina, into a dactylic type. Nasaan. Or lumipad. But if it's lumipad, that would be anapestic. But if it's dactylic, it's dum-da-da. That's lumipad. Okay. So now you're getting it, So those are the foot. Next is the... Yep. I'm done with this one. Next is the spondy. It's two strong syllables, but appears as a foot and usually appears at the end of the line. So this one is called dum-dum. Okay. Dum-dum. The word itself, dum-dum, it's can be spondy. So usually spondies appear at the end of a line to signify na patapos na yung linya, At lumipad sila sa buwan para magkaroon ng kaligayahan. So, yahan of the word kaligayahan would be your spondee, which would end the line. So those are the 5 types of foot. And let's give you an example. For example, this is pentametric, which is 5 sets of foot. 5 sets, 5 plus 2 sila. And I'm using iambic, which is the dum. So ikaw is 1 foot, lang-ang is another foot, then laman ng pu, and then soko, that's another foot. So it's 5 feet in 1 line. And then I have 2 lines. So let's try to do it as a pentametric iambic. So ikaw lang ang laman ng puso ko, ang laging nandoon sa isip ko. So that's an iambic pentametric. Oh, what are pentametrics? Let's now move on to the next part of the lesson, which is the number of feet. So per line of your poem, it has a certain number of feet. You can either use the same numbers of feet per line, or you could do a different one. Like for example, you can all do 5, 5, 5, or 10, 10, 10, or 5, 6, 5, 6 in your lines. And usually in a stanza, there's 4 lines. So when we say 1 foot, it's monometer. 2 foot, diameter. 3 feet, trimester. 4 feet, tetrameter. 5 feet, pentameter. 6 feet, hexameter, and so on and so on. Ano? When a hexameter is in an iambic rhythm, for example, 6 feet, it's also called an alexandrine. So these are kung ilan yung foot sa bawat linya. Let's try to look for an example. Okay, our example is the poem of Andres Bonifacio. Let's try to analyze it. Alamin natin kung ito ba ay ilang foot ba sa isang line. As you can obviously see right now, each verse is composed of 4 lines. Now, bibilangin natin kung ilang foot ang per line sa tula ni Andres Bonifacio. But first, let me read it for you. This is Pag-ibig sa Tinubuang Lupa by Andres Bonifacio. So, aling pag-ibig pa ang hihigit kaya sa pagkadalisay at pagkadakila? Gaya ng pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa, aling pag-ibig pa? Wala na nga. Wala. Okay, let's try to analyze. Ilang foot ang nasa isang linya sa tula ni Andres Bonifacio na ito? So, first, aling pag-ibig pa ang hihigit kaya? That's 12. Next. Sa pagkadalisay at pagkadakila. That's another 12. No? So, the third line, gaya ng pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa. That's 13. Then, aling pag-ibig pa, wala na nga wala. So that's 12. So gumamit siya ng 12, 12, 13, 12. So the average is 12. 12 ang kanyang paborito. Gaya ng pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa. Siguro ni-stress niya lang yan. So, aling pag-ibig pa ang hihigit kaya? So ilang in the 12 sila 12 syllables, no? So again, ilang foot ang nandoon? Gumamit ba siya ng dadadam or dadam? So aling, what's that? That's iambic, ano? Aling pag-ibig pa. Aling pag-ibig pa. Yan. Tadam-dam-dam. Ang hihigit kaya? Aling pag-ibig Pag-ibig, pag-ibig. So when we say pag-ibig, what's that? Pag-ibig. It's damdada, it's dactylic. Aling pag-ibig pa ang hihigit kaya. So if we notice, it's 12 syllables per line, and per stanza there are 4 lines. So let's try to analyze somewhere dito sa gitna natin kung ganun din ba ang rhyme scheme na ginagamit, or ganun din ba ang metric na ginagamit ni Andres Bonifacio. Ito'y ang inang bayang tinubuan. Ito ay, so that's maybe 2 syllables, or it can be 3 syllables para sumakto dun sa 12 na ginagawa niya. Ito ay ang inang bayang tinubuan. So that's 12. And then the next line, siya ay inatangi sa kinamulatan. 12 again. So ang ginagamit ni Andres Bonifacio dito is 12. So he's using a 6 feet hexameter. Dahil bawat linya na ay gumagamit ng 6 feet, and then 6 feet, and then at the same time it's in line. Okay, so rhyme scheme. Tignan natin ang rhyme scheme ni Andres Bonifacio. Ano ang mga magkakatugma? O kaya, dakila, lupa, wala. Then we move on to hangad, ingat, sumulat, isiniwalat. Okay, handog, kupkop, pagod, lagot. So ito naman yung kanyang rhyme scheme. Okay? The next element of a poem is repetition. This is the repeated use of sound, word, phrases, sentence, rhythmical pattern or grammatical pattern. And there are types of repetitions. The first one is alliteration. This is the repetition of initial consonant sounds. The first sound of the consonant, like k, p, b. No, for example, he clasps the crag with crooked hands. No. So inulit niya yung k, k, k. So that was what we call alliteration. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. For example, do not go into the good night. So that's repetition in your word place. No, that's assonance. Okay, and the last one is what we call onomatopoeia. When we say onomatopoeia, these are the words that sound like which they describe. For example, boom, crash, pow, quack, moo. So those are onomatopoeic words. You can use that in your poems as well. And now we move on to figures of speech. Ano nga ba ang tinatawag natin na figures of speech? These are word or phrases that is used in a non-literal sense of usually for rhetorical or for vivid effect, like you are using a word, you are referring to something, but this is not exactly what it is literally. For example, if you say that death is near, but of course death can never be near, but you are referring to death as a person, then that is a figure of speech. For example, if you are falling in love with the trees, ganyan, or my mind is about to explode with ideas, those are figures of speech. But there are a lot of types of figures of speech, and we'll be discussing about it right now. The first one is simile. Simile is from the Latin word simile, meaning similar. It is a stated comparison between two things that are really very different but share one common element. For example, ang utak niya ay parang sabaw. Yeah, for example, our utak is not sabaw, you know. Or ang kanyang kagandahan ay parang bye-bye. Well, you are comparing two things, you know, that are not usually the same in the same sense, no? But you are using its similarity. Is like is as lovely is as beautiful as Those are the keywords when we are using simile. The next figure of speech is metaphor. From the Greek word metaphere, meaning to carry over. It is a suggested or implied comparison between two unlike things with the use of as and as if. For example, you are my angel. In Tagalog, ikaw ay ang aking anghel. Yan. Or for example, you know my friend, you are our Cupid. Ikaw ang Cupido dahil ikaw ang nagpakilala sa akin sa kanya. So that is metaphor, you know. Again, it's the use of as and as if or is. For example, she's the apple of my eyes. That is using metaphor as well. Now we move on to the third figure of speech that we are discussing right now. This is personification naman. When we say personification, you are giving human qualities to an inanimate object or even animal or an idea, no? For example, galit na galit yung bagyo You know, we do not know. You know, the storm cannot be angry, but we are using personification because we are treating the storm like it has human qualities, you know? Or this other example over here, time had fallen asleep in the afternoon sunshine. So time falls asleep. So, you know, personification. Next figure of speech is hyperbole. From the Greek hyper, which means beyond, and the root bolein, or to throw. It is a deliberate overstatement or exaggeration. Not to emphasize a statement, but only for humorous effect, for bigla effect ba. For example, nako, habang buhay na yang lumuluha, or she cried forever. That's a hyperbole. Why? Because it is not possible to cry forever, but because you'd like to exaggerate, you know, then you're using that word. Or I've been waiting for eternity. This other example here, para bang, of course you cannot wait for eternity. Eternity is king, you know. You'll die first before waiting for eternity. But then, just to stress that you've been waiting for a long time, you're using hyperbole. Next, of course, is irony. Or irony is a statement of one idea and the opposite is which is meant, no? Para bang this is usually used in insults. Like, for example, you're so lovely today. You look like a Christmas tree. Wait, pre, ang ganda mo. Para kang Gilbert Bridge. or even the fact na you are saying something just to imply the opposite thing. Para bang, oh, haba ng hair mo. Hindi naman mahaba hair niya, no? Next is oxymoron. This is a figure of speech wherein you are combining two words, contradicting words in the same sentence. It's used for striking effect usually. Like for example, it's contrary. Less is more. How can there be less if it's more? Or the sound of silence. How can silence have a sound? So that is oxymoron. It's having two contradicting words in a particular statement or sentence. Lastly, we have the apostrophe. Apostrophe is a direct address to an inanimate object or third person, as if present, or an idea. For example, "Oh death, where is thy sting? Oh captain, my captain, our fearful trip is gone." Para bang, there's no captain, there's no death, but you are addressing it as a part of your speech, as a figure of speech. No? So these figure of speech, class, these are what we call pampabulaklak. No, it makes your compositions, your poems flowery, and you can employ this in the assignments that I will be giving you. You are gonna make your poem. So you have to put in mind that these are tools that you can use and make the world a more beautiful place with your literature and with your poems and with your works of art. And that's a general overview of poetry. As we go along, as we move along, we'll be having more exercises on how to make poems. And I'm looking forward to your techniques and to your works. So with that, this lecture is done for now. And if there are any questions, just add me on Facebook or ask me or inbox me on Canvas. With that, you guys take care.